An 18-year-old kid gets stabbed walking home. He's bleeding out. He tells the police he has been stabbed. Their response? They handcuff him. They tell him, yeah, I don't think you have, mate. Then they roll him onto his side while he loses consciousness and ultimately dies. Well, the killer, they treat him like he's the victim. That is not policing error. That is a system that has decided whose life matters and whose doesn't. And if that sentence makes you uncomfortable, and it should, ask yourself, why is that? This is the Henry Nowak case, and the questions it forces us to ask don't stop at the UK border. Welcome back to another episode of The Thomas Cut. Let me tell you what actually happened that night. Not what the headline said, what the court actually found. Henry Nowak, 18 years old, first year university student, walking back to his accommodation through Portswood in Southampton just after 11 p.m. alone. Unarmed, blood alcohol below the legal driver limit, and that is a fact which the judge was very clear on. Crossed paths with Vickrum Digwa, 22-year-old, sober, carrying a large visible Sikh dagger in a sheath over his clothing. Henry saw the knife alone late at night, no one around, so he did what a lot of people do when they feel unsafe. He pulled out his phone and started recording. Maybe he thought the camera would make the guy back off. Maybe he wanted evidence in case something went horribly wrong. Either way, he asked the obvious question, "Are you a bad man?" Digwa replied, "Yes, I am a bad man." What is that? What type of response is that? Then he grabbed Henry's phone and a struggle followed. Digwa's turban may have been knocked off, which the judge accepted that, but the judge rejected Digwa's wider claims. Henry did not racially abuse him. Henry did not attack him the way Digwa alleged. Digwa lied. And then Digwa drew the dagger and stabbed Henry, fatally wounded the chest, deep near the lung, and a major vein. Massive internal bleeding. Stabbed in the legs, the lower abdomen, the groin, and his face was even slashed. After the attack, Digwa didn't call in an ambulance like any normal person would. He didn't even call the police. He filmed Henry bleeding out. His mother removed the knife from the scene. His brother made the 999 call or 999 call, but denied weapons were involved and downplayed the whole injury and incident.
Attacked racially by some white person.
Right, okay. Whereabouts are you?
We're on Belmont Road.
When police arrived, Digwa had already constructed his story. He told them Henry attacked him, knocked off his turban, racially abused him. He presented himself as the victim. The judge called these claims lies, repeated to officers while Henry was dying. And unfortunately, the police believed him. Now I'm going to show you a clip of the body cam the police had on when they arrived at this unfortunate incident and the recording of it, and then we'll have a discussion after it. Okay, here we go.
Been stabbed. You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up.
Alright.
He's got a mouthful of blood. I don't want him.
He was on the bin on the other side of this gate.
He jumped over these fences and stuff like that. And he's up
Move
here.
away, mate.
He's obviously fallen
Right.
from there and he slipped from there.
There's other shoes left over there, mate.
What's your name, mate? Huh? Hand?
Oh, I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
This is like
Hands even look pale.
Saying he's been stabbed, so
Where
let's
is it you
check
think you've
him.
been stabbed?
he hasn't been
In the face? Oh no, but we have to check, don't we?
No.
In the face?
At the moment, you are under arrest. That's for assault, so you do not have to say anything, may harm in defence. If you do not mention when questioned, so we should later rely on the court. Anything you do say, maybe.
This is so cooked. I have so many emotions running through my mind at the moment. It has literally made me feel sick. It's made me feel absolutely sick watching that video. because it makes me think that this could have been my brother, my nephews, close friends, cousins, anyone in my family, it could have been. And just to think where we are in this world at the moment, change needs to happen. We are so far gone. It's just mind blowing. It really is. They handcuffed Henry, as you just saw, told him he was under arrest. Henry said he'd been stabbed and couldn't breathe. One of the officers looked at the dying teenager and said, yeah, I don't think you have been, mate. What is that? Well, you can't see that his face is being slashed? I don't think you have, mate. They rolled him onto his side. He became unresponsive. Then they called an ambulance and started CPR. A little too late, Hampshire police. A little too late. One officer resigned. 3 others are under investigation. Digwa was convicted of murder, life imprisonment, minimum 20 years and 190 days. I don't even think that's enough. His mother convicted of assisting an offender. Further charges pending against other family members. Justice in the courtroom. Denial on the street. And the gap between these two things is where the public has stopped trusting the system. I just want to take a moment to breathe here and pause. Before we go any further, we need to talk about the thing that everyone's been tiptoeing around, the weapon. This is not a kitchen knife pulled from a drawer in a moment of rage. It's not the case. This is a ceremonial dagger. Have a look at it. It's a blade that Digwa was carrying in a sheath over his clothing in public while walking through the streets of Southampton at 11 o'clock at night. And here's the part that should make your head explode. It was legal. He was allowed to have it because in the United Kingdom, if you belong to the Sikh faith, you can carry a blade in public on religious grounds. Now just let that sink in. Now let me be very clear. I'm not here to attack Sikhism. The vast majority of Sikhs carry the kirpan as a sacred symbol, not a weapon. It's part of who they are. I get it and I understand it. This is not about an entire faith. This is about what happens when a society creates rules that can be exploited by bad actors and then refuse to ask whether these rules still make sense. Look at this. Really? Really? What the actual hell is that? The United Kingdom, broad daylight. Men walking around with daggers on their belts. Not concealed at all, not hidden, just part of their outfit. Why not? Like it's a wallet or a set of keys. And you're supposed to look at that and think, yeah, that's normal. That's okay, fine. Nothing to question here. But can we be honest for a second? If you walk down any street here in Australia, in England, and saw a man with a blade like something out of Prince of Persia hanging from his chest, and you didn't know it was a religious article, what the hell would you think? You think there's a man with a sword. You'd cross the street, you'd call the police, and you'd be right to. So why does adding the word religion change the calculation? This is Digwa at his workplace, at an accountant's office, sitting at a desk doing spreadsheets with a dagger hanging around his neck. In any other context, if I showed you this photo and said, this man carries a blade to work every day, you would assume he was a threat. You would assume someone was going to get hurt. And someone did. Now, here's where the British mind really starts to short circuit. The police in the UK, the people who showed up to find Henry Nowak bleeding on the pavement, they don't even carry guns. They don't even carry guns. The standard British police officer walks around with a baton and a can of pepper spray. A baton. That's the state's response to violent crime, a stick. But a civilian can carry a ceremonial dagger because his religion says so. Why not? If his religion says so, why not? The state disarms its own officers. The state tells the citizens they cannot carry anything for self-defense. No pepper spray, no taser, nothing. But the state also says if your faith requires a blade, yeah, that's different. That's fine. It's all good. That's protected. What kind of society writes the rule book? What kind of society looks at the contradiction and says, yes, that makes sense. Why not? Well, it doesn't make sense. It makes a hierarchy where some people's beliefs are so protected that the rest of society has to accept the risk. Even if that risk is an 18-year-old kid bleeding out on the pavement because someone decided his religious dagger wasn't just a symbol today. This is not a call to ban anyone's religion. It's a call to use common sense. If a blade can kill someone, and this one surely did, then maybe it shouldn't be carried in public by anyone for any reason, religious or not. Because Henry Nowak didn't care whether the knife that killed him was sacred or not. He just wanted to get home. He just wanted to get home. And the system that lets that blade walk free while handcuffing him, that system needs to take a very long look in the mirror. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. Do you remember Irina Zarutska? September 2024 in Charlotte, North Carolina. A woman was stabbed to death on a train. 6 people in that carriage. 4 passengers, the attacker, and Irina. Not a packed rush hour train where you could miss something. 6 people. She was attacked right in front of them. And what did those 4 passengers do? Did any of them get up, try to stop him, pull the emergency alarm, even yell? No, they stayed on their phones. They didn't even look up. Irina bled out while 4 people sat there scrolling. She was even crying if you look at the footage. Not one of them moved to help. Not one of them. Not one of them even checked if she was okay after the attacker left. She died alone on a train floor surrounded by people who couldn't be bothered to lift their heads up from the screen. A woman's life ended, and the only thing that moved were their thumbs. Now compare that to Henry Nowak, bleeding on the street, telling the police what was happening. And the people who were paid to protect him dismissed him. They handcuffed him, treated him like the threat, while the man with the knife played the racism card. You see the pattern? In both cases, the victim was treated as invisible. Irina was invisible because people were too self-absorbed to even care. Henry was invisible because the system had been trained to see a white man as a default suspect, even when he's the one dying. Now, here's the question they really don't want you to ask. Here it is. If Irina Zawutska had been black and her attacker had been white, what do you think would have happened? You know exactly what. The footage would be on every news channel within hours. Protests in every major city. Politicians would be falling over themselves to condemn it. There would be a hashtag, a movement, a national conversation that lasted weeks. But Irina was white. So the story came and went. A few headlines, a few think pieces about bystander empathy, then silence. Henry Nowak was white. And for 2 days after his death, the story was buried. It only exploded because bodycam footage was leaked, because people saw with their own eyes what happened and couldn't unsee it. The public forced the conversation open, not the media, not the politicians, the public. Now ask yourself this, if Henry had been black and his killer had been white, would it have taken leaked footage for the country to pay attention? You already know the answer. And that answer reveals something millions of people are done pretending doesn't exist. Now, I'm going to show you that footage of Arina Zorutska on that train when tragedy happened. Have a watch. Look how scared she is. She's actually crying in her seat with her hand over her face. It just makes me sick, literally sick, that someone's life can be taken just like that within a click of their fingers. Here she's come from another country, from the Ukraine, for a better life due to the war that's happening over there, just minding her own business, and her life taken within a flash. Here's what's actually happening. Arena got silenced, Henry got a movement, not because the system decided his life mattered more. It was because ordinary people saw the body cam footage and refused to let it go. They took to the streets in Southampton, and yes, some of it turned ugly. Fires, clashes with police, the kind of chaos that makes politicians reach for their word thuggery and ignore the reason people are angry in the first place. But here's what they don't want to admit. When the system keeps telling people they're imagining things, when it gaslights the public for years, eventually the response isn't polite, it's a power keg. And that match was a dying teenager in handcuffs. That's not the system working. That's a system failing so badly that the public finally boiled over. Some victims get a hashtag before the blood's even dry. Others have to wait for leaked footage and public fury just to be seen as human. That's not equality. That's a hierarchy of victimhood. And Digwa understood exactly how to exploit it. He didn't just stab Henry, he constructed a narrative. He claimed his turban was knocked off, claimed racial abuse. He played the one card the system has been trained to never question. And it worked. The police arrived primed to see a racist attack. They saw a minority man with a swollen eye telling a convincing story. And they saw a white teenager as the problem. The judge said Digwa's lies shaped the police's first impression. A false accusation of racism determined who got handcuffed and who got treated as the victim. That's not justice. That's a system that has been captured by an ideology that values identity over evidence. And the people on the streets of Southampton, well, they're done with it. Here's where we are. Henry Nowak died because a man with a knife decided he was a threat, and the system believed the man with the knife. Arena Zarutska died because 4 people in a train carriage decided whatever was on their screen was more important than her life. 2 different cases, 2 different countries, same problem. A system that doesn't know who it's supposed to be protecting. When you're so checked out that a woman can be stabbed right in front of you and you don't even look up from your phone, you've lost something fundamental. When you're so afraid of being called racist that you handcuff a stabbed teenager, you've lost your moral compass entirely. And when the public stops trusting the institutions that are supposed to keep them safe, the police, the media, the government, then the social contract is broken. Not cracking, broken. Now, let me be clear. This is not a call to hate any community. Henry's own family asked that his death not to be used to create division. I respect that. The killer was an individual. His family helped him, and they're being punished. That's how justice is supposed to work. But the question isn't just about the killer. It's about the police. It's about the bystanders. It's about a culture that has trained people to see victims as perpetrators through a racial lens and to always assume the white person is in the wrong. That assumption killed Henry Nowak. Not the knife alone, the lie, and the system that believed it. I don't know if there's a simple fix for this. I don't know. But I know where it starts. Treat every victim equally. Believe the person who's bleeding, not the person playing the racism card. Judge cases on evidence, not identity. That shouldn't be radical. But in 2026, it is. My question to you is not what do you think of UK policing? My question is, do you believe the system would protect you the same way it would protect someone of a different race? If that answer is no, and for millions of people it is, then the system is already broken. The only thing left is what we do about it. Maybe the protests in Southampton are the beginning. Maybe people are finally done being afraid of the accusations, done being numb, done treating other people's death as background noise. Arena Zorutska deserved better. Henry Nowak deserved better. And if we're going to honor them, we have to stop pretending that double standards don't exist. If you want to keep having this conversation the polite class won't have, hit subscribe. I'm Thomas, and this is the Thomas Cut. I'll see you on the next one.